I'm not making a lot of the other things, but there's a weird psychology that humans experience when they go to buy something. They have to pick out the thing that they think is good. And if you're only giving them good options, there's no way for them to feel triumphant over the choice that they've made. And it's a weird psychological thing, but you have to have almost in a way something, I wouldn't call it bad, but the less desirable option.
Welcome to Coffee and Crazy People. That's the name of this podcast. I'm Alexis. I'm from the Cat Pharm, and we like to talk about cats, a little bit of cannabis, a little bit of business, entrepreneurship. Today, I have Angie with me from the Kitty Bodega down in Houston, Texas. Welcome, Angie. Thank you for being a guest on my show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is really exciting. I love to have cat people on the show, so welcome. And why don't you give us a little introduction and tell us about yourself and tell us how the Kitty Bodega is keeping you up at night.
Well, I will begin to attempt to give my introduction as the proprietor of the Kitty Bodega, but in the short order, I believe that another entity in this building will come and try to claim that it is her store because she is moving now that she hears us talking.
The boss, yeah.
One of the bosses. They all think they're the boss. So the Kitty Bodega is obviously Houston's only cat store. There's actually 2 in Texas, which is shocking because there's less than 10 cat stores. There's Denver, Dallas, Houston. There's not even one in Austin, and I don't think there's one in Portland either. There's one in LA. There's less than 10 nationwide. So it is a little bit strange that Texas has 2. I mean, that's what I thought. Here she comes. This is Octavia. Octavia usually introduces herself to everybody, and it seems.
Hi, Octavia. I wish I could pet you right now.
This is her boss spot. This is where she comes to lay when she wants to say hi to people walking in the store and say, "Hi, welcome to my store. Don't mind the human. I'm going to fire her soon." See, there we go. There. Yeah.
Perfect spot.
So yeah, but as far as what keeps me up at night, I mean, I love what I do. So the only thing that keeps me up at night is making sure that I don't screw it all up.
Right. Exactly. I totally get you. So what made you dive into owning a kitty business?
Well, it's sort of a varied story. I've been doing cat rescue for about 18 years, and it's one of the things that I've never burned out. I've never burned out from helping cats. Even though at times anybody who's done rescue knows that it is extraordinarily exhausting, and it's heart-wrenching. And sometimes I feel like the angel of death. It's like, wow, how many animals I'm going to rescue that are going to pass away. But before this, I was in sales and business development for over 20 years. So talking to people is natural for me. I was very successful in my career too. I had a small retail business before in New York when I was in college. So retail sales is obviously also something I'm familiar with. Then through a varied sort of checkered situation that I can't name names due to legal reasons, I lost a job. And it was the first time I lost a job. And it kind of ended with a sexual harassment lawsuit, which every woman listener should know, unless you get a clause that ensures it doesn't go into your employment profile, you become untouchable after that. So I was unemployed for a little while, and I decided if this is the way it's going to go, then I'm going to start my own business. And I couldn't figure out, I said, I can go back into corporate maybe if somebody will hire me. I can start a business, but I want to, what will I not get bored of? And I thought, well, I've never gotten bored of cats. And then I thought, well, cat rescue. And I thought, no, that's stressful. I don't know. I don't, as I get older, I realize less stress is better for me. Okay, what's simple? Okay, retail sales is relatively simple. And I get to help cats, and I get to help people help their cats, and, expand my knowledge base just by being a center where people come and talk about their cats. And I said, oh, what about a cat store? And I kind of was very proud of myself that day. I gave myself a pat on the back for that one. So I was like, I think this is the best idea I've ever had. So here I am. I'm just wrapping up my first year, and I love every second of it.
That's fantastic. I love it when people are able to combine their passions with, their careers. And I totally thank you for sharing, how you got here, because I do think it's really important. And honestly, like I got burnt out of the corporate environment, and I got to a point where I said, I don't want to do this anymore. What do I want to do? Because I need to feel fulfilled, number one, and I also don't want to hate my job anymore. So
Yeah.
it's totally relatable. I totally get it. And same thing. I was like, what do I love? I love cats. So how do I make this happen?
Similar. Yeah, I mean, like even when I was working corporate, it's like I was making good money. But it's at some point I would still get bored, you know? And I said, so obviously for me, I knew it's not about the money. I mean, when you're younger, you think, oh, it's all about the money. Then you make money and then you're like, oh, I get bored after, 5 years or 4 years or 6 years or whatever it is. And you think, okay, so I guess it isn't just the money. It's got to be something else. But then I've always been hesitant to mix like my crafts or my passion with my business, because then I don't want to hate it. Like I'm a painter, I'm an artist, but I don't want to hate it because now I rely on it to pay my bills. But somehow this as an extracurricular passion, but that I'm really devoted to. And yes, like you were saying, realizing I don't get bored of it as well. It was I imagine when you came up with the idea to do what you're doing, you probably felt a similar sense of relief that finally, as we mature, we are getting better at kind of figuring out what we are going to be happy with in terms of decisions.
Absolutely. I call it my midlife crisis, but in all honesty, it's saving me.
Yeah.
I think like where I was headed was a totally different trajectory, and I'm much happier now without the money.
Yeah.
You get those worries. Obviously, everybody worries about money, being able to pay the bills, but I'd much rather have this than the I don't even know how to explain like the feelings that I had because of the work life that I was living. It was very stressful and very, I don't know, just unfulfilling. You didn't feel like you could, you were contributing anything.
Yeah, and it just felt like when you're just doing something for money, I don't know, it's like outside of that, what do you have left to do except to go and spend the money? And then what do you have to do after that? Is you have to replace the money. It's like, well, where am I getting time for enjoyment?
Yeah.
Where am I being fulfilled? And for me, and I'm sure you've experienced this, helping someone help their cat have a better life, whether it's anxiety or something else, and then they come back to you and say, oh my god, my cat is like so much happier now, thank you. It's like, wow, okay, I did that. And it's not that I'm not a miracle worker, but you asked for help and I gave it to you and it helped. And on top of it, this is what I do. Like, this is cool.
Yeah, 100%, 100%, the best feeling. And like you said, people coming into the store, getting to just kind of brag about their pets, like that's my favorite part. Like I really could just pet cats all day, like meet cats. I love meeting cats. I will probably remember your cat's name before I remember your name.
I know it's I was talking to another cat store owner in Denver. She owns the what is it, all just cats. It's just cats. She just finished her 5 years, or she's in business 5 years now. And we were talking about our tendencies towards forgetting certain information. And she said, oh, I always remember your face and I'll remember something about your life. And I'm like, and she goes, but I might not remember your name or your animal's name. And I'm like, well, I'll always remember your cat's name. I might not remember exactly anything else, but I'll remember your cat's name. And I won't know what your name is, most likely. Yes, I'm ready.
We're a different breed as cat people. That's all I can say.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
tell me what the year has been like having your cat store. Like, was it a journey to get set up? Like, how did you source your products? Like, what were the good parts and the bad parts of really getting this
I will
started?
say I am a classic genetically predisposed to flying by the seat of my pants. If I want to do something, I'm like, let's do it, and most people think it's a bit of a peculiar personality trait, but apparently it's a very distinct one. Like when I mentioned being in New York for almost 20 years, and I remember I was, I think I want to go to New York and go to school. And my friend was like, huh? And 3 weeks later, I lived there. It's like no plan, no nothing. So it was sort of similar, except I did kind of plan for a very short period of time. But essentially, once I came up with the idea, I just thought, okay, just do it as soon as you can. And then an opportunity came up for this spot that I'm in, which is 266 square feet, off the beaten path dramatically. Even my own customers sometimes who are regulars pass the store and have to circle back around and come back because it's just that awkward. But it was cheap. And I thought, okay, you know what? It's cheap. It's off the beaten path. It's weird, but why not? It's a great way to get started on very little money and see, A, is it profitable? B, do I like it as much as I think I'm going to like it? C, is it stressful in ways that I didn't predict? And so I got started on not very much, and I got started with cash, no loans, nothing like that. I saved money from some delivery driving I did last year, believe it or not, delivering for Uber, and just popped it open. I mean, initially finding products was a little bit more challenging, getting set up with distributors and getting set. Just one of the things I find the most challenging is finding unique cat products. And that has not changed since then, because one of my most exciting things was I get to have this store with all this cool cat stuff in it. And I go to look for stuff and I'm like, where's all the cool cat stuff? Like, who's inventing all the cool cat stuff? That's why I think these y'all things are so neat. I'm like, hey, that's cool. That's different. And if they all eat it, that would be even better. I haven't opened it yet because, if I open 1 out of 6 items of everything I bring in the store, I obviously will go out of business. So yeah, and I have to say that I have made some mistakes, and that's obviously stressful, but the overarching sentiment is it's been freaking amazing. And as a matter of fact, one thing I forgot to mention was one of those companies I worked for. I was working for this cybersecurity company for a little over 6 years, and loved the job, loved my team, made good money, and eventually quit, got bored. But the co-founder of that company, him and his wife, also have pet stores, or had pet stores up in Boston. And so he would tell me, oh yeah, we do really well at the pet stores. And he's, I always respect him, very, very smart, love him, love his wife, love what they do, never had a single bad interaction. And seeing their passion towards it, I thought, well, that's really kind of cool. And that they were doing better there even, I thought, well, that's interesting, So I actually spoke with him, and he was like, yeah, we sold our stores, this, that, and the other. And hi, has to be part of the conversation.
Yeah, make sure you're doing it right. That's all.
Yeah. So exactly. Don't tell any secrets, Mom. So Jeff is his name. And funny enough, I don't know if we can edit this if I'm going on a tangent, but recently I'm sure you heard that IPP, Independent Pet Partners, who is a giant corporate. Ow, really?
I think it's a sign.
I'm not supposed to talk anything bad, but basically a lot of stores across the country were suddenly going to be under Chapter 11 due to corporate issues. And Jeff, incidentally, him and his wife sold their stores to this company when they retired a few years ago. And he was texting me about it this week saying, I can't believe, have you heard? And I'm like, yeah, obviously I've heard. I've been in the industry now for a year. And he seemed to be very upset, but I think their stores were one of the ones that are going to be saved. Same here in Houston. There's a buyer for 26 stores in Houston that otherwise were all going to be out at the end of the month. That's a lot of people without jobs. A lot of people trying to get food and supplies that, it was really kind of scary for a lot of people. But yeah, other lessons I've learned are, I like cat people. I like to get to know my customers, but I need to be better at setting personal boundaries. It is like the saying goes, your customer will become your friend before your friend will become your customer. But I have to make sure that it's hard. It's hard to say, okay, well, you're telling me I've saved your cat's life. You're here, 3 times a week, sometimes just to chat. And we're kind of friendly, but at the same time, I need to be able to say you're a customer and not a friend, or know when is truly appropriate to cross that line. I don't know if you've had that, but I think this is a general small business lesson that I think everybody has to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I have in different scenarios, not so much in my own situation yet. So we don't have a brick and mortar at the moment. I'm working on that. But like you said, rent is high. And, I have high expectations. So part of this whole process, right, is me learning from you guys as well. So as I get motivated and inspired by, everybody's journeys. So, it has my wheels turning about rethinking, where I would set up. But, I have met a lot of people going out to markets and, just in my past lives and had those experiences where it's like, okay, like where do we set these boundaries so that we're clear, right? we don't need to get beyond this. And I'm sure that I am, because I'm a chatty person, man. I will talk to people about anything. And then like we said earlier, like I'm an open book. I don't have a filter.
Yeah.
So I sometimes cross the line because I'll say stuff that might not be kosher or and I'm pretty raunchy. I'm gonna have to be honest. But kind of quiet right now, I guess. Like just it's that time of the day. But I say stuff. I cuss a lot, And so there's that.
Yeah,
and so I figure if other people have to deal with me, I kind of have to deal with other people. So it's a balance. It's a give and take. And I try to judge each situation as we go. But.
And you're like event-based still, right?
So I am a bit event-based. Lots of events. I took a little bit of a hiatus. I'm working on some products right now. So we sell CBD products. We have pet products and people products. I also sell a line of catnip products. I'm currently formulating 2 new products. So one is a people product and one is a pet product. So we are pushing out some CBD cat treats. Okay. And so that's been the last couple of months for me is formulation because it has to be very, I have to be very, very careful about what I'm doing and getting the proper licensing and registrations, finding the right facilities so I can go and make these things in. It's a lot when you're making the product. And so I can't fathom, and I'm again, no retail experience. Maybe when I was 18, I worked at the Discovery Channel store at the mall. Like that's my retail experience. Okay. So I'm learning as I go. And then for my people products, like what we've learned over the course of this last year. So same for me. I started in 2020, like just with this idea. And it had been brewing for 5 years before that. I knew I wanted to get into the cannabis.
Opposite in that regard. I'm like,
I'm a planner, man. I'm a planner and I sit on things for a really long time. But once I do it, I'm all in and I don't stop. So I know that this is a long journey. It may not happen today. It may not happen tomorrow, but 5 years from now, like I'm in it. I'm in it. So, I give it a lot of thought and make sure that I'm ready to take that leap. But we started the company in 2020, and then we started last year really pushing products out and then, kind of fine tuning what we want to carry, what we don't want to carry. With our people products, we're going to start a whole separate line because we've run into this issue where like, is it for cats? Is it for people?
Yeah.
So I get it. From a distribution standpoint, it's kind of a hindrance. So we're going to be doing something else. But my second product that I'm really excited about and I can't wait to get out is I'm making cat-shaped CBD gummies. And so they're going to be just super cute. I can't wait.
So these are for people, right? So this will be like the ultimate crossover. These are for cats and these are for people. What do you think these are for? Huh?
I know, right? So definitely distinguishing between the two is important for us right now. And then trying to fine tune our catnip products that we carry as well, because it's really interesting what I've learned like through that process. Like all cats are different. Some respond to different things differently. I've had really good success with cats who are non-catnip responsive with Silvervine. So I usually refer people to that. And then there's some kind of honeysuckle. I can't remember the name that cats are responsive to.
Are you talking about valerian?
No, so valerian root I do carry, but there is another one, and it is a honeysuckle of some sort. And I can't seem to find it, but it is out there in the world somewhere. So just for your store, if you're looking for something unique, you might look. I'll send you some stuff so that you know the name of it at least. But cats are responsive to it. It's really similar to catnip. So I'm trying to figure out how to bring that into our blends as well. It's hard. I want to like focus some of our products down because, you know, as a small business, it's hard to have so many products. But I have people that really like certain things, and so I can't get rid of it. So
I mean, because my first business that I mentioned was retail, but I was also making what I was selling. So it is a lot harder when you're doing both. So it was funny because at some point, I think somebody asked me, why don't you only make this, this, and this, since it's the majority of what you sell? And I said, well, I'm not making a lot of the other things, but there's a weird psychology that humans experience when they go to buy something. They have to pick out the thing that they think is good. And if you're only giving them good options, there's no way for them to feel triumphant over the choice that they've made. And it's a weird psychological thing, but you have to have almost in a way something, I wouldn't call it bad, but the less desirable options. You have to have at least a very small percentage so that people feel like they have a choice. And I know that's sort of a weird and manipulative thing to admit, but in the business of running a business, we have to be aware of this, you know?
Right. Psychology is important in the business world across the board. So I totally get it. And it's important. I like that little clipped ear there.
Yeah, she was supposed to go back. She loves giving me some love bites. Yeah.
So was she a rescue? Tell me about Octavia.
Octavia is from here outside the store. And
okay.
There was a bunch of pregnant cats out here. I guess one of the neighbors was kind of running an illegal backyard cattery kind of thing. And because I know myself and I will literally go under feeding cats, I decided, let me start trapping all the pregnant cats and getting them, you know, sterilized if I can, if it's not, depending on where they are in their pregnancy. So she was supposed to go back outside, and I got her ear clipped because sometimes she does want to run out the front door of the store, and that's fine. Mainly she runs out to chase off any other cats that may be encroaching on her territory. But she likes it in the shop. I don't know what happened. She would love to run outside, and lately she just, when people come in, she jumps right up to this counter. She lays there and she looks at him and she's like, well, hello, hi, I'm Octavia. And I'm just, okay, I guess she thinks she's the shop cat now.
Yeah, she's social butterfly is what it sounds like.
You know, disclaimer, I feel like I need to give this disclaimer as a pet store owner, especially, you know, that specializes in cats. That is the only cat I have that is a chunky cat. And I know people think of all cats as chunky. She's gaining so much weight because at night she helps herself to things in the store. I have put up so many blocks, plastic walls and things to keep her out, and she'll find something and I'll come in and there'll be a whole bag of treats and all that's left is the bag. And I'm like, Octavia, I don't know how much weight. And people come in and they're like, wow, she's really put on some weight. And I'm like, yes, I know it's embarrassing, but she should do. I can't control her.
I love it. Little sneaky.
My other cat is here. She's as fit as a fiddle, like the rest of them. As a matter of fact, plug, she's in a competition to be America's favorite cat.
Yeah,
we're still in first place. Chomp-a-lot. Hi, say hi. Hi. Hey, she's my little smarty pants. So yes, we the group finals starts tomorrow. So if we're not in first place by tomorrow night, we're going to have a hard time staying there. And then after that, we should be able to advance to the final rounds. We get a $5,000 grand prize, which I will donate to a local shelter, but we get a 2-page spread photo op in Catster magazine. And that's what I want.
That's so awesome. Fingers crossed for you guys. So
thank you. Well,
I'll be voting
and vote. Yes,
exactly. I'll make sure to. I'll push something out on the Instagram to my followers.
Okay, cool.
That's so awesome.
Long explanation. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, no worries. So tell me what kind of products what are your favorite products that you carry?
I would say my favorite. I mean, that's hard. I mean, okay, I will tell you something.
You had to pick two.
Okay,
if I had
to pick two,
two unique products that maybe people have never seen before.
Okay, so
they want to know what kind of cool cat products exist in the world.
This is one of my absolute hands down favorite cat toys ever invented, and oddly enough, a lot of people have not heard of it. Some people have. There are knockoffs, and I will, on Fred's behalf, he's the creator and the inventor and the owner. If you see a knockoff, don't buy it. That's not cool, man. But the Ripple Rug. So essentially, the Ripple Rug, have you heard of this?
I have not. Tell me all about it.
So essentially, it's 2 rugs made of recycled plastic bottles. The bottom one has a non-slip coating. The top one has various size holes, some for paws, some for bodies, and they have little safety slits. And underneath the top one, there's all these little Velcro patches that we humans get to do things like make caves or tunnels or shapes. And the cats can dive in and dive out and chase each other and throw their toys in. You can machine wash it, you can dry it. And for $44, honestly, it is awesome. And it's about, I want to say maybe, I don't know how many, I want to say it's about 4 feet by 3.5 feet by 4 feet or something like that. It's big. Oh, here it is. Yeah, 47 inches by 36. So it's about 3 by 4. So it's sizable. It's good for a multi-cat household. It's good for cats with anxiety because it provides that small dark space that they can hide in. It's good for, again, for you playing with them or them self-entertaining, like if you're gone all day. But I mean, really, truly, I love the Ripple Rug. And most people, even if you take this home for the first time, for some reason, when you go to pull it out of the bag, the cats already know. They're like, that's for me. And you're like, what the hell? How do they know it's for them? Like,
because everything's for them when you come home.
well, that is, you know what, touche. That is a good point. So yes, the Ripple Rug. And then I would say, okay, it is a tough call between, now it's not that tough of a call. I already think I know where I'm going with the other one. Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure. I'm going to turn you around here so I can grab it from under here. So my second, I would like to say product, but really they make a whole line of products. But if I was going to point out one product of theirs, and I think absolutely everyone right now should buy it. I don't have an online store, so you can buy it from them or you can come here, is a product called Your Go-To by a company called Adored Beast out of Canada. So the reason it's called Your Go-To is because you will go to it for everything. I keep a bottle at the store by the register. I keep a bottle at my nightstand, and I keep a bottle in my kitchen. So this I have used for, okay, first of all, it's all natural. It's not toxic. It's arnica and aconite, 200C and 200C. It's a first aid thing. So it's used for trauma, shock, inflammation, disease, anxiety. I have used this, and actually it's safe for cats and dogs. Sorry, somebody was asking that I turn the camera around. For example, my sister's 20-year-old cat was looking like, okay, this is the weekend, that she's not doing well. She's not eating. She's barely going to the bathroom. It's a little pink. I know because I used the sustainable years cat litter, so you can see the colors in it. Gave her one little pump in the side of her mouth, and 30 seconds later, it's kind of like how weed is to cancer patients, right? She's like, okay. So she goes and she ate a little bit, then she was like, okay, let me drink a little bit of water. Then she was able to pee a little bit more. She ended up living for like another month. Not just because of this, but it's something you can use in the heat of the moment when you're like, if I don't do something, this animal is going to have a problem. Or I had a customer call me. It's one of my Google reviews. You'll see around 8 a.m. And I answer the phone. Or you're not open, are you? And I'm thinking, well, no, I'm not, but sounds like you probably need something pretty bad, right? So I said, what's up? And it was this lady who was out of town here with her cat, and the cat was in the car having a complete, anxiety attack, and they were on their way to the airport. I live 7 minutes from where my store is. So I asked her if she was willing to wait 7 minutes, and she did. So I got here, sold her one of these, and literally within 30 seconds, one pump in their mouth and they're golden. She's like, oh my God, it worked so great. I've used it for my white cat. I feed raw at home, but if they tear into a bag of dry food, I'm not going to let it go to waste. So I took a bag of dry food home, and of course they were all like, oh my God, what is this? It's like, so they overdid it. So she threw up food, then she threw up more of the food, then she threw up a little bit more of the food. And I'm like, how much did you gorge on while I wasn't looking? And, oh, that's nice, Octavia. Sorry. Intermission. Apparently we got cats for sale too. She's inside the showcase. I don't know if you can tell, but anyway, she threw up, and then she threw up a little bit of liquid, and I was like, all right. So I grabbed the paper towel and I dipped it. It was still clear. Then she threw up just a little bit more, and I saw pink, and I thought, okay, that's it. We've reached the point where your esophagus is starting to get irritated and inflamed, and there's a little bit of blood. Gave her, and she was stressed. You could see she was like just waiting to see if she was going to throw up again. Gave her one pump in the side of her mouth. 30 seconds later, goes, lays down, wakes up an hour later, stretches out, everything's fine. Took out the inflammation, calmed her down, settled everything. she took a nap, she woke up and she was golden. I mean, you will literally go to this for everything. It is just an amazing tool that I tell everybody, don't wait until you need it. You want to have it when you need it. Don't leave it in your hot car or anything, but this is the kind of thing. And like CBD, I know a lot of animals have to get acclimated to. This is a true,
Right.
this is in a first aid kit too. So this is really, really just something that, I mean, I ordered this like a dozen at a time and I still have a hard time keeping it in stock. And I'm not even that busy of a store because it is just so good.
That's
so
awesome.
Again, it's your go-to by Adored Beast and highly, highly, highly recommended. This is my second. If I had to pick two, it's the Ripple Rug and the Your Go-To. So
awesome. That's cool. I may have to get some of that from you. Try it out. So.
No, trust me.
I have a couple. So I have one who he does not do well with guests. And so we do use the CBD products with him. And so that's helped a whole lot. And he gets so stressed out that he will start peeing blood, and it's very quickly, like, so it doesn't take long. Like people, we could have company over for 2.5, 3 hours and he's already starting to get extremely stressed out.
This will add to, so first of all, this will help with his stress, but it will also help with any urinary tract inflammation that is being caused by the stress, because stress will cause bladder wall inflammation and urinary tract inflammation, because the last thing you want is a plug, because if he's a boy cat, they have narrow urethras, and kidney failure is unfortunately something that happens very fast with cats. Again, I swear by this stuff. I always tell people, I'm not trying to make a buck. I'm trying to give you something that you are going to be so grateful to have when something happens,
I bet they're going to start flying off the shelves soon.
They do in my store, for sure. And I think I'm one of the only, I'm like the only cat store that they have in the US. I think they have one cat store in Canada and then one cat. So they're mostly in, dog-centric stores.
Okay.
I think I'm the only person in Houston who even carries most of the Adored Beast line, but it's great stuff.
That's awesome. I love it when you can find a really unique product that works really well for people. So that's amazing.
And they have a practice. They're not just manufacturers. They have an animal practice. They work with cats, dogs, horses. They do forest, they work in deforested lands with trying to get them to be reforested. They do so many things that are, their whole ethos is full. It's not just a greenwash product that somebody makes and says, oh, this is great. They live by their word. So I like that too.
Perfect. So tell me what the cat community is like in Houston.
I mean, I don't know. So far, I think most of them are good. I mean, I haven't really met any. I think there's only.
Are there a lot of cat events that happen, or I know that you're the only cat store.
I think.
What other kinds of cat things go on in Houston that you're aware of?
I mean, there's cat shows. I know that there are, like, Pop Cats was cool. I went to that. I haven't made it to any of the cat shows or any of the big, like I know Super Zoo or something is coming up, and I just haven't been able to get away because I'm running the shop. I think Houstonians probably are pretty avid cat lovers, but of course, reaching them takes a little bit of time. But all of my customers who've come in are like really, I'm very lucky that when people come to a cat store, they have already in their mind kind of self-edited that they're the kind of person who is concerned and wants to have somewhat of an educated conversation about the care of their cat or even their dog. So I get to have a lot of very fruitful conversations with people. And by fruitful, I mean, I learn too. I am not about just, if you ask me how to do something, I will advise, but otherwise, let's just talk about what matters most to you right now. And I don't know where it's going to go, but I know that I'm looking at moving my store to a very populated corner. Sometime my applications are going in, and if that happens, I think the level of cat people that I meet is going to explode very soon. Hopefully I'll be able to keep my wits about me. But yeah.
It's a good problem to have though, right? Like,
oh yeah, for sure. I mean,
growth is, especially at the stage that you're at, right? Like to be able to, know that you can move into a better location or a larger store, take on more expenses, meet more consumer needs, I think says a lot about the effort that you've put in over the last year. So, I mean, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I've worked very hard. I mean, almost all of my customers find me through social media or through Google looking for a cat store. But in a year, I've only ever gotten 2 that found me by going by the store. That's that because I'm literally on a dead end on a feeder road by the side of the highway. So, but being able to take that customer base with me, and it's very close and in a very, very highly trafficked corner, in an area where there's a lot of cat lovers, I think is going to be just so much fun. I'm really just looking forward to it, And you would definitely have to come by the store. I don't have any CBD products on my line yet because I think I told you I'm waiting. I haven't done anything CBD because I need to know when I do bring something in, it is something that
That's the right thing. I totally get it. I totally get it. So, and it's really challenging in the CBD community because it's so unregulated. And I think there are a lot of good products being developed. You can find things that are high quality, that are made with 0 THC, that you can confidently give to your pets. But it's not everything. And so, yeah, you have to be very, very careful. So I completely understand. And yeah, happy to send you some things. You can test them out and, research them a little bit more and see if anything works for you.
I don't know that much about it. I just know that, what I've been recommended is full spectrum, organic. A lot of companies make it for dogs first. And then I feel like, do they know enough about cats? Do we know?
Yeah, what I've learned is not so much really. It's like they're just doing it on a weight basis.
Yeah.
And it is really just a dog product, or even further, it's a people product that they've turned into a dog product that they're now like, okay, well, let's just drop the milligram dosage and now it's a cat product.
Yeah.
But in reality, that's okay because using a human grade product for your pets is probably better anyway. Using something like a coconut oil as your blend is better for your pets than something else. Your MCT oils. So,
what kind of other blends? So, when you're making CBD for cats, what kind of other, I guess, carriers would you use aside from coconut oil?
You could use a lot of different things. Some people use salmon oil, to be honest. I've run into that a lot, especially with dogs. For some reason, dogs love salmon oil.
Yeah.
So any kind of fat allows the CBD to transfer through your body, and that goes for pets or people. I always recommend an isolate, which is like an isolated CBD, or not full spectrum, a broad spectrum for a pet, because that's gonna. So broad spectrum has very little THC in it. It's hard to even when you test it, it doesn't even show up most cases. But there is still going to be some very, very minor components of it because the way that they extract it out of the plant. A full spectrum. So basically the full spectrum is pulling from all areas of the plant. And so it's harder to isolate the CBD. So you have more or higher THC content. And so when you're trying to give a CBD product to your pet, I always recommend 0 THC at all, because some pets are highly allergic. The only time I recommend it, and this is really interesting, is for larger breed dogs. I have several people that have told me in my time in this world that a full spectrum or a low THC product works really well, 50 pounds or above. And so if your dogs, and a lot of times it's more of the, and I hate to even say it because I don't believe in the term, but aggressive breed. Those dogs tend to have different compositions, maybe more muscle tone. I don't know what it is that's causing them to be more reactive to a THC product, like it relaxes them a little bit more. And so, and they don't tend to have negative side effects as larger dogs. So, but anything smaller than that, I definitely don't recommend any kind of THC because it is poisonous for pets. So.
And so you were saying, so it's broad spectrum versus full spectrum, and then you said isolate?
Isolate is where they go in and they extract the CBD at 100%, like nothing else is in it. And again, I'm not a an extractor. So, this is pretty high level how I'm explaining it. But basically the isolate is 0 THC. And so that's usually what you want to look for if you're going to get a CBD product for your pet or for cats specifically. So
okay. I know
that's my preference.
What the brand was, but a customer came in a few weeks ago and they had a really bad adverse reaction to some kind of CBD product. And I was like, oh my God, just get your go-to because it was kind of like a isolated incident too. And I was like, for an isolated person, like my understanding of CBD is that it's not going to necessarily be that effective. One dose, I think there has to be a body tolerance built. So if you're
Absolutely
talking about an incident, your go-to is going to be there for you, where CBD is not going to be able to be as effective on the spot,
Right. So I think what we typically recommend is like if you're going to use a CBD product for your pet, it has to be like a supplement. You have to give it to them consistently, so every day for at least 2 weeks to see real effective results.
And it's good
and then finding the
right?
I'm sorry, say it again.
It's good for their joints too, I've heard.
Absolutely. So it does help with inflammation. So I've found that, mobility increases. It helps with sleep. So if you've got, especially older pets, so if they're having difficulty like staying asleep at night or like the anxiety, my niece has a dog who was in a breeding situation that went wrong and he was attacked. And so he has a lot of stress. And so like at night for a very long period of time, like he was on edge, like he would just stand at the edge of the bed, like he wouldn't lay down. And so, using a CBD product has really helped him to kind of calm down and be able to relax. But it's a daily routine. It's not.
Yeah, it's not as you need it.
Yeah, here and go on. It's something that you have to use consistently. So I carry a water soluble product and it's made through basically what they do is they take the components and they take the particles down as small as they can so that it's more easily absorbable. And so I do use that in similar situations as your product that you were mentioning, the go-to. Because it does act faster. Like you do see relief from it, not instantaneously, but we're talking like maybe 15 to 30 minutes rather than like an hour, right? If you take like a CBD oil. The other thing about it is it's absorbable through the skin, which I like because sometimes it's really difficult. Like if I'm giving CBD to my cats, I'm usually mixing it in with a wet food. I'm not, if it's a dog, right, you can usually just drop it in their mouth just like a person, or you're giving it to them in some treats. With the water soluble product, like I can just spray it on my finger and rub it on the inside of their ears and they'll absorb it that way. And so it's a lot less invasive. I've never had a cat where I could put something in their mouth or they take pills. Like I know that there are people that have those cats that exist, not me. I've never experienced it firsthand. So I'm always looking for ways to apply the product so that it's a little bit easier to use and make it, especially if you're having to give it to them every day. So, and you do see some relief like right away, but it's not, like you said, it's not as strong, I guess, as what you've experienced with this other product.
Yeah, and that's, like I said, what I usually tell people is this particular product, the go-to, is truly a first aid product that you can use for so many situations that maybe you might not think, oh, well, this needs first aid, because you think of first aid as being like open wounds. But being that it is under that category, you can imagine that this is about immediate, immediate reaction, I guess would be the way to put it. But that's the beautiful thing about it, right? We need something for generalized anxiety. We need something for isolated moments. We need something for, we need different tools for different applications, depending on the environment or the peculiar nature of your own cat, because all cats are different.
That's right.
And when you were saying, I've never had a cat that, just let you put things in its mouth or take pills. No, put things in their mouth. I have at least one cat, and put pills in her mouth. That's another story. But she is her name is Pizza, and she has been up for adoption since last year. Because she's an adult. They're hard to find homes for, brown tabbies. The first time I went to brush her teeth, I thought, huh. And I looked at her and I was like, man, I have a feeling I'm just going to be able to brush your teeth. Grab the toothbrush, grab some toothpaste, put it on there. Well, for a cat toothbrush and cat toothpaste, just went right into her mouth. And she was just like, okay,
Let's just do this,
just
huh?
kind of sat there and let me do it. I was like, I just had a feeling. My white cat, it took me 3 weeks to train her to even let me get a toothbrush near her mouth, and because she likes to bite, as affection, not as mean. But
Sure.
she was just like, yeah, okay, you want to brush my teeth? Fine, whatever, let's do it. I was like,
So we've got Octavia, Kumquat,
oh,
Pizza.
so Champawat.
Champawat.
Is named
Okay, I missed that one. Champawat
She's
and
named after
Pizza.
the deadliest tiger in history. Yeah. So the tiger of Champawat killed and ate over 436 humans from the year 1900 to 1907 in a village in Nepal. So yes,
Hey,
she is
I
named
like
after.
Champawat.
Um, there's a lot of cats. I don't think we have time to go through all 16.
That's okay. You don't have to go through all of them. But what's your favorite cat name? Is where I was going. What's the weirdest cat name you've ever given a pet before?
Oh, the weirdest cat name I've ever given a pet. I don't know. I think the weirdest names I've ever seen given a cat were names my mom gave cats. There were these two kittens that she was like, oh, there's these kittens outside. And then I was like, okay. She's like, I don't care about them. And I was like, okay. And then one day she's like, oh my God, one of the kittens has been missing and I've been praying to God. And I'm like, okay. So then she's like, and if he comes back, I'm gonna take care of them, which they're both at my house now. But when she got them, she named them number 1 and number 2. I was like, okay, mom. One and number 2. Got it. I don't know. I mean, I feel like all my cats have just like Champawat's probably an unusual name, but not really because it's a tiger. I mean, I have Pizza, Pepsi, names that are not even real names like Nami. But I don't know. I don't think I've ever heard. What is the weirdest cat name you've ever heard? I mean,
Oh man, that's a good question. Actually, on one of my events I asked this question, like, what's your cat's name? And so I made a list. Surprisingly, there were a lot of Lunas. That's what I recall from this list.
there are a lot of Lunas.
A lot of Lunas, and it's a beautiful name, but there's too many. It's
There
like
are
the Ashley of the cat world.
And it's a recent trend. I don't remember it always being like this, but recently this has been a trend. There's been a lot of cats named Luna. Yeah.
Luna.
Then
But
you have
the
your
weirdest, like,
here.
I don't know. I asked you the question. I don't really know. I'll tell you, my cats are all named after characters from Quentin Tarantino movies.
Oh.
Even my Fosters, when I keep my Fosters, we just pick a movie and go down the list. He's got plenty of characters, so I don't have to be I'm not a creative person.
You're like, you're Mr. Pink. That's funny. Yeah, I mean, for Fosters,
Pig, I ran into a cat named Pig one time. That one's
that's an interesting
name. I always find it interesting when you name your cat a different animal name. So,
yeah, I wonder what that cat thinks about that.
Right. I asked my cat yesterday, I was like, do you know my name? I still don't know. We'll find out one day.
That's funny. Did you hear about the whole, IPP thing I mentioned earlier about all these stores being
So I didn't. So tell me a little bit more about it, because I'm not that immersed in the pet product community just yet. It's mostly more like CBD environment that I'm spent around.
It's really like I mean, without going into too much detail, what's interesting about it, not so much what happened, but what's interesting about it is I'm getting customers calling asking if I can get food for them. And I'm explaining to them, okay, well, just so you know, a company did come in at the last minute and buy the Houston locations, the 25 Houston stores that were all otherwise about to go out of business. So you can still get your food there, because they're going to be, I don't know how long. I'm sure they're going to try to cut down and maybe close some stores, but it seems that maybe the crisis has been averted. And it doesn't seem to phase people. They're like, yeah, but can you get the food? And I'm like, okay. Which I really, I personally, if I was somebody who relied on them and that happened, I would be PO'd, because a lot of the foods that were carried by these companies were not foods that you can get. They're like open farm. You can't get that at Petco or PetSmart or online at Chewy or whatever. So suddenly being like, okay, well, you're all without a job, and where am I going to get my animals food? For that many people at that many stores, you got to think it's a large number of people.
Yes,
it's just kind of like, oh, without warning, bye, peace out, we don't care about you. And I would have been like, well, F that, I'm taking my business elsewhere. So I don't know if that's what people are experiencing, or if it's just that people don't understand me when I say, no, but it's okay, they're still going to be open. Like, you don't have to come to me for your pet food needs. You can still go to them. But luckily so far it's mainly been cat people, so I'm not complaining. So yeah,
I'm sure it has something to do with wanting a reliable source. Like, you have to think about yourself as a consumer, right? Just like you said, I know that if I experience something like that, it would be, it's challenging. Even so, very recently with my cats, like I was like, all right, we're going to try out a new food. I had them on the exact same food for years, at least 2 years. My youngest, the two boys that I have will be 2 in March. And so since they've came in, they've all been on the same food. And so I got some samples, like just at one of the events somewhere, and they loved it. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to switch over. But then I can't find it here in Austin.
Yeah, that's frustrating, right?
It is frustrating. So I totally get like that sentiment where it's like you are going to be open, you aren't going to be open, like you're closing, like where am I going to find this stuff? Like you got to find something that you can go to from there. And so
that's what I put a special order form on my website, and I told people, look, just go to the website, fill out the order form. If you're a new customer, I will require that you prepay, because I have made that mistake of, oh yeah, I'll get it for you, and then they never come back. And so for me, I think that's the difference between shopping at a small business too. A lot of people thought this was small business, but they weren't, or that they were franchised, but they weren't. Being in the industry, of course, I knew, behind the curtain, who was the ownership, et cetera. But what's interesting is that you can go to a small store usually and say, hey, like a mom and pop type shop, and say, hey, I see that you carry a lot of brands that I've seen in the store that I used to go to, and they had this food. Is there any chance you can get it for me, on special order? Because most of us, we place an order once every couple weeks, if not every week or every month. And if you say, if you can get it for me, if it's once a month, maybe I'll buy a bulk amount, right? And I'll get enough for a month. And most small businesses will say yes, because why would we turn you down? Not to mention, your order might be helping us reach a minimum. If we're so small that that's still a concern to us, like it is to me, your order might help me reach my minimum. So then I don't have to buy things I don't necessarily need just in order to get the delivery. So, I always tell people, go, like my friend who lives in South Carolina and she has cats for the first time. I said, go to a small store, ask them to get this brand, go in ahead of time, because you don't know when they're going to place the order. I told her what to buy and she was like, oh my God, thank you. And, I think that's hopefully people, hopefully this is like a small wake up call. I don't know how long it'll last, but hopefully.
Yeah. It's always good to know where your food comes from for you and your pet.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, a lesson that we're going to repeat over and over again here in the U.S. over the coming years, because I don't think this will be the first supply chain issue or the last supply chain issue that will experience.
Can you imagine what would happen if overnight all of the Walmarts closed? People, it would be like people would be trampling each other to get to any small store and cleaning out the shelves worse than the pandemic. People would freak. But do you think there's a company bigger than Walmart that would swoop in and buy them? No. And do you think Walmart would care? No. But it's obviously that's a grand scale example, but that's a real example that we have to expect that it could happen at any time. And what are people going to do? And how are all the businesses around there and in that city going to be impacted? Because yes, some of it might be positive, but there might be a lot of negative too.
Yeah, I think it's important too, like to take care of your local economy, right? And the small businesses, because not only are you, providing for them, but it helps to circle around, right? Like you're putting money back into your community. And so it's I don't know. I don't know how that lesson needs to get out there to people. Like, there's convenience. I get it. The convenience of going to the big shop stores. Yes, they can buy things in bulk. They can get them at a cheaper price. But how is that benefiting you and your community?
And I think people, maybe in this instance, it helps people see that, yeah, there is community circular income, but it's also, I'm putting all my eggs in one basket. And if that basket that should suddenly fall off the wall and all the eggs crack, I'm not going to have anything to eat. It's like, why don't you divide where you put your eggs so that you keep the community fruitful in terms of even what's available to you. Funny story is, since you mentioned they can buy in bulk and make things cheaper, there's a lot of food that they carry that it is literally cheaper for you or me to buy it there at a retail price than it is for me to buy it at a wholesale price. It is more expensive wholesale than it is at Walmart by $3, $4, or $5 a bag. And I'm like, what? So it is literally those are instances where they are forcing out competition, because nobody in their right mind is going to go, I'm going to go and spend $5 more on it than what you can buy it for 3 miles from here, and then charge you $5 on top of that. You're not going to pay $10 more, because if that's the kind of food you want, you're probably already on a budget, right? And you're not going to pay the 10 extra. So it forces people into those stores to buy things. And so, yeah, I don't know. I didn't know that until I got into the industry, and I was looking at, and I'm like, this is insanity. Like, I can't buy a lot of this stuff, like grocery store brands. I can't buy it wholesale. I mean, I can, but it's more expensive than it is at the store.
Yeah, nobody's going to buy it from you because they're going to see the price point somewhere else. That's amazing how they push people out. Yeah. So it makes it really difficult, right? Difficult. Is that a monopoly? So
I would say it's something like it, but
yeah. Is there nobody to push back? Is that why it continues to happen? So
I don't know if the manufacturers like it, or if they're being squeezed, or if it's kind of a status quo by now, but, like when that whole thing happened with this company, I was more worried about, am I going to be able to keep getting my distributors to bring food to me? Because if they're losing 25 stores in Houston, how are they going to raise prices? Am I going to now pay more for food and delivery because this company pulled the plug on 25 stores? That's what I was looking at. Most people were looking at, how can I get in and buy stuff and take over their space? And I'm like, no, I'm worried about my business. How is this going? What is the fallback on this going to look like? Because I know there's going to be some, Yeah. They were saved, at least the Houston stores.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that worked out, and hopefully you don't have any distribution issues because of it. I saw you had a dog sign up earlier. Were you always planning to carry dog stuff, or did it happen because of consumer needs, or just?
I mean, I had a dog at the time. She passed in September. So I always knew I would have a very, very small dog section, but when I first had the idea of opening a store, I thought maybe dog and cat, but then I realized probably just cat, because it's more of what I know. It's more what I'm passionate about. It may eventually grow into both. But I also thought it was kind of comical to have, like, here's my store over here and over here and over here. And in that one little corner, there's a little neon sign that says dog, and there's some treats and toys, and there used to be food, but I've decided not to carry dog food anymore unless it's special order, but only to carry, like, right here at the register, I have some little, like, impulse cute things, like the toy, but I want to make sure it's really, really high quality stuff. Like this, my sister's dog has been chewing on for months, and he's the size of a moose, and he still hasn't chewed through it, and he chews through everything. So awesome. If you're here buying for your cats, there's a little bucket with some, I feel guilty, let me get something for my dog.
Yeah, role reversal, right?
Yeah, so I thought it was kind of funny, like, okay, instead of going into the store and you're like, where's the cat stuff? Oh, it's in the corner. It's like, where's your dog stuff? Oh, it's in the corner. But also they're non-perishables. Since I don't move that much dog stuff, it's non-perishables. I don't have to worry about just pennying it out because it expires. They have better margins, which is fine, even though I'm not selling much of it. And my apothecary is, dog and cat. All my stuff for my apothecary items are dog and cat. And so that has always been the case because they're small. And it's something that people can't get locally, are, holistic apothecary type options for their pets that aren't just prescription food and veterinary medicine,
That's awesome.
Why do you ask?
Cool.
Dogs too?
I have no dogs. I'm a cat
Ah,
person. I grew up with dogs. I asked because I just thought it was interesting that you're the Kitty Bodega and you have a little tiny dog
kitty.
section. I noticed, okay, that's all.
Kitty, kitty, yeah.
It's
Um,
working. Your plan is working.
and like I have customers that come in, like I had one that came in a few weeks ago and she needed like, almost 100 pounds of dog food. And I said, all right, let's put the order in, and special order, she comes in, picks it up. It's great for me because I don't have the overhead. I don't have to use the space for the inventory. I don't
Right.
have to worry about it expiring, and it's just, yeah, I don't have anything against dogs. I'm more of a cat person.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the same for me. I guess the second reason why I ask is because when I'm doing markets, like it's where I get a lot of my feedback from. And
Mhm.
I've had people say, like, you should carry a dog line. And I was like, but I'm
Yeah.
not a dog business. I'm a
Like
cat.
there are a lot, yeah, a lot of people that carry dog lines, but that's the classic, somebody, I mean, every business you run, somebody can, oh, you should do this, oh, you should do that, oh, you should do
Oh,
that. It's
no,
like,
of course.
all right, well, when you run the business, you do it. I love you, but no. Yeah, I
Exactly.
mean, there's so many companies out there that do CBD for dog, so many. And I think you're probably one of the only ones I've seen that focuses on cats. I mean, obviously you looking at humans too, and I'm sure, there's cross applicability with dogs, but your brand is cat, you know?
Yeah. And
It's like,
that's for a reason. Like, I want this to be a cat cafe dispensary when it's all said and done.
yeah,
And so we will carry people products because that's, as a consumption lounge concept, people will want to come in and have a seltzer or take a gummy and relax and play with kitties. Like, that's the main concept. And then we carry, pet products as well. So that's kind of like ancillary. But what's happened is, like, as I've evolved, because things change, right? Pivot. I always think of Ross coming down the stairs on Friends with the sofa. Like, when you open a business, you're constantly pivoting based on like demand. And so what I've found, because there's a saturated market for CBD and people products, is that there's not for pets. There's not, especially in Texas.
yeah,
There's no one currently in Texas manufacturing pet products specifically.
mhm,
So for me, it's an opportunity.
yeah,
So, like, how do we continue to advance this? And it's the number one thing that I sell.
yeah,
So, again, things that I'm learning coming in, like, okay, my big goal is to have a shop, be able to sell infused foods. I want to do prefix meals, and you come and hang out with your cats and
yeah.
hang out with somebody who's making some cool stuff. And
Huh.
but then,
It's a
things
new
change,
version.
and
Definitely.
it's for entertainment value. It was that kind of like, okay, back in the day when the idea comes up, it's like, what do I want to do for the rest of my life? I
Yeah.
really just want to sit around and smoke weed and play with kitties. So how do I turn this into a
Right?
concept?
I'm like, how do I
So
make this like legit?
that's
Yeah,
simple, okay? Like,
yeah, exactly. Hey man, you gotta keep your eye on the prize and never let anybody tell you otherwise. Be like, I don't care what you think, I'm gonna
that's
find a
right.
way to make this possible.
Yeah.
You see?
I
It's
definitely had to get over, like, this is a crazy idea. How am I going to tell people this? And then, so for a long time it was like, but now it's
no,
like,
it's like
this
stick
is
to what
it.
you do, man. It's like somebody was asking me, I forget who it was. I think, oh gosh, I don't remember who it was. Something they were asking me, or do you like what you do or something? And I think it was somebody I hadn't talked to in a while. And I was like, are you kidding me? I'm like, I hang out with cats all day. I get on the computer or on the phone and I order stuff for cats like every few days. Days it's like Christmas because I get a box or something in the mail and it's filled with cat stuff like toys or treats. And then I get to give it to my cats. And then people come in and we talk about their cats. And then sometimes their cat is sick and I get to help them save their cat's life. It is like, oh, I love it. I'm like, it's the
Yeah,
best thing ever. Like, this is like
it is
literally
the
all I
best
do.
thing ever. People don't
Christmas
understand, like,
shopping,
how much I could talk
cats.
about cats.
Yeah. I literally shop, get Christmas presents and talk about cats and hang out with cats and help. I'm like, I just don't, I can't. If there was any other way to make this better, I think my mind would explode. I think I'm at the limit of just how perfect it can get. I mean,
I
obviously
love it.
busier and more customers because then I can help more, but that's inevitable. I don't have to worry about that. That's going to come. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of have to fight off the naysayers and just keep going, keep going. So that's where I'm at. Like I said, I'm in it for the long haul. It'll happen.
Yeah.
May
Hey,
take some time,
pat on
but
both
it'll.
of our backs. Pat on both of our backs.
I
You never
like
get
it. I like
Yep.
it.
Just like you, I'm like, I want to do this for the next 30 years. How can I do this for the
Yeah.
next 30 years? You know, like this isn't a get rich, quick scheme for me. This is
No, not at all. This is a passion project for sure. This is like a retirement plan. This is eat, sleep, drink, wake up, thinking about
Yeah.
how to do this. So it's rewarding for sure. I'm sure you feel that way too as you
Oh,
see
yeah.
your business expand and just being able to be around the things that I enjoy. Like there's nothing beats it.
Yeah. No, really. I mean, we just gotta, I mean, I guess even if we let the secret out, I mean, I don't think a lot of people are going to necessarily share our same values. I don't think there's much of a secret to be had here. Sometimes people are like, don't say anything, they're going to copy you. And I'm like, that's, it's inevitable. If you're doing something and you're
Yeah.
having a good time and you're making money, it doesn't matter who or what you are. I mean, they copy Louis Vuitton. What makes you think they're going to keep you from copying whatever you're doing?
Mhm.
It's going to happen, honey. I'm sorry, but just got to accept it. Just stay one step
Yep.
ahead. That's all that matters.
It is. And just, do what you're focused on doing. Don't worry about what somebody else is trying to do. I do worry about that though, because it is one of the things when I was really pushing and why I had to pivot is they did open a cat cafe here in Austin back in July. And so January, I told my husband, I was like, it's now or never. Like if we don't get a shop open before the end of the year, somebody else is going to do it. And then literally like 6 months later, I'm like, no. But I mean, I've learned a lot. Like we're very good friends. I've learned from her. I've learned, I go and visit her shop. I've visited several other cat cafes in Texas.
Yeah.
So it's a community. And
I mean, I don't think cat people, I mean, I can't say that's true because I have met some pet store owners that were not nice people, but I would say, well, there's the cat cafe concept, right? Here I am being one of those jerks. Anyway, just to throw some information at you randomly, let's not pretend that it's an opinion. It's just random information coming out of Angie's mouth. Interesting concepts that I was thinking of recently are things like not necessarily a cafe, but a cat therapy kind of place. Like literally just come and spend time with cats because I don't really want to deal with the health department and serving coffee and serving food. But that's me. Again, it's not that I'm lazy. I know my tolerance to stress and I know my tolerance to certain customer service type interactions. Transaction-based customer service interactions, I'm cool with all day long because at the end of the day, it's just a product and the product is replaceable by money, whereas a service is not something that I can necessarily repair. I can give them their money back, but it won't change the appetite, the taste left in their mouth after a service. So for me, I want to avoid all service offerings. And everybody says, well, to be profitable, to really do good, you have to have a service side of your business. And I'm like, but I don't want to. I can be good at this without having to have a service. Like I don't need to have a cat cafe. I'm like, if I have cats in the store and if I have to move into a store that's too big for me, which is why I was thinking of these things, like I can make a section where people can just come and hang out with cats, like even if you don't have a cat, but you like cats, maybe your boyfriend's allergic to cats, so you don't get to keep a cat at the house, like it's not a cafe, it's not anything special, but you can come and hang out with them, and, like I don't want to get into grooming, I don't want to, the one side of my business I will expand when I move, even though I'm not moving into a space a lot bigger than this, but it's bigger. And well, yes, let's stay in the positive. My application is just in, it hasn't been approved yet, but I will get it. Is I want to expand my apothecary, and I want to call it my apothecary with a little paw, because I find that that's something I'm getting a lot of, people are starved for it,
Yes.
And there's, not only are there no local options, but even if they go online, they don't have that personal guidance that they get when they come into my store, because they don't just come in and say, oh, well, my cat has anxiety. And I go, here, you should go to. I'm like, okay, well, first of all, let's look at the whole picture. How old is your cat? How many other cats do you have in the house? Do you have a dog? Have you recently moved? Do you have a roommate? Like, let's talk about everything before I make a recommendation, because it might turn out that your cat has anxiety because he has a urinary tract infection, like it might be nothing to do with, so I think growing the apothecary side of my, like, I want to call it a leg because it's not going to be very big because all the items are obviously very small.
Right.
And nothing will be anything I make myself, but being able to represent brands such as yourself or such as Adored Beast, and to have the education and the sort of experience by listening to like webinars or things that they might do where I can have a familiarity with certain customer experiences with certain products and certain unique situations. That way it gives me a basis by which to kind of assess a person's dog or cat and what they're going through. Like I just learned about what SIBO is, small intestinal bacteria overgrowth, and how it can often look like a herpes reaction when they have dry skin, or, like all these, constantly educating myself. That I would like to do, but I don't consider that really a service because I'm not charging for it, right? It's a consultation that I give for free because I want to make sure that they get the right thing and that no animals are hurt in the process. But yeah, so anyway, I was just throwing that out there, like a place where people play with cats or like an apothecary type thing, or, but bravo to you if you want to deal with the food and the coffee and the people, because I'm like,
oh yeah, I've got 3 different pillars here that I'm struggling with, like from a conceptual standpoint, trying to put together. You've got like the adoption process, right? That's traditionally associated with cat cafes. So finding the right partners and setting up what that process needs to look like is a whole business strategy in and of itself.
yeah.
Then you've got your cafe section, right?
Yeah.
So dealing with food is a whole nother beast.
Yeah.
Honestly, the plan would be, in most, what I'm looking for in terms of location is to find a partner organization as well, where there's just an ordering mechanism, and then maybe we're next door to a cafe. That way, because that's like from a legal standpoint, we have to have separation between the animals and the food anyway. So that's the ideal scenario. Maybe it's a food truck, maybe it's a little cafe next door, I don't know. So really looking for that in the location. And then of course we've got the CBD products, and that's its own separate business line.
Bravo too if you want to do all of it, but I'm like,
it's a web of things going on.
I'm like, that sounds like I would be overwhelmed at some point, and
mostly because I enjoy myself, like I enjoy having infused products and foods. And so, and it's not the only thing we'll offer non-infused products as well, but like, so that concept for me is important as part of the whole brand, because I want to be able to, Texas is far behind in terms of cannabis use in long term, and where that's going to go. No, there's no consumption lounges or any kind of legislation in place on what a consumption lounge needs to look like in Texas, but that's in theory what I want this to be. And so, and like you mentioned, like being able to hang out with cats, I do find it therapeutic. It is so stress relieving. And so for me, cannabis and cats kind of go hand in hand in that sense, where it's a stress relieving environment. It's very low low energy, just kind of a nice way to relax and release and get that break from the grind. So fingers crossed. It's a long-term plan, but
well, I mean, I think when you're thinking about the combination of businesses, I think that's a good, obviously you're going to have to probably get more no's than you will yeses when you go out and ask, but as long as you have a thick skin and you're good with that, and it sounds like you are, most business, small business owners are.
You made it this far, right?
A very good way to go. That's because then you're dividing and you're both, you're supporting each other, and you're dividing responsibility, but you're not necessarily partners either, like in a traditional business partner sense. And, both people benefit. So yeah, I think that's a spam call. I think that's great. I mean, I think what you're leaning at in terms of making an alliance, I think that's where you're going to find your leverage. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so too. I mean, I'm really big on focusing like on my local economy. That's something, my background is international development. So I spent the last few years doing work across the globe, and, you get spread too thin. And I think with a lot of people, you know, we all experienced it differently, but COVID for me was this like reality check of like, I'm so focused on what's happening 16,000 miles away, and I've got stuff happening right here. So how do I accommodate for that? And so that was part of this journey into like, I just want to focus on Texas. Like,
Yeah.
That's what I can do. Like that's tangible support for me, and long-term support for my family, for the community, for our economy. So that's the trajectory, I guess, that has led me where I am.
I think eventually I will admit I do want more than one cat store, but that's only because okay, you might have to edit this part out. I want a cat store in Brooklyn because Brooklynites it's inherent in the culture of a Brooklynite to be a cat person, to care about cats, to take care of the community cats. And I'm like, the fact that there's not a cat store there.
Yeah, and you're already a bodega, so New York is known for their bodegas, like, and cat bodega cats, like,
yeah, like right there in Brooklyn somewhere. Oh my God, I would probably have a lot less fun running the store, but the amount of money I made at that store would allow me to have more fun at my store in Houston. Because I'm like, okay, we're breaking even, but they're breaking in the bank, so let's have a good time, guys. And we should do more than break even, but knowing me, I'll be like, let's go to Square Paws and let's get them to custom build us a giant firehouse. Like, I don't know if you've seen Square Paws, but their stuff is sick. Have you seen them?
I have.
I would be like, okay, they made how much last month? Let's get another Square Paws thing.
It would just be a playland, right? Like I'd love it.
Yeah. So
that's my next big expense. We're about to catify the house. So I have really tall ceilings, and we have not yet. So we've been here, I guess, little over 3 years now. Put up, you know, there's places for them to go, but I want to pull out like full scale, like we're gonna do bridges, we're gonna do little panels on the wall, so they're gonna have at it here. It's gonna be ridiculous.
I ordered my or he shipped it on Monday. I got me one of those very fancy cat wheels. I don't know if you saw me post about it. I'm like, I know these are expensive. I know a lot of people aren't going to have the money, but I myself have been using the One Fast Cat wheel for 2 years now. And I love that it's been there as a training tool, but I myself see all the reasons why I would think it's better to have a nicer one for me, because my cats abuse that thing. It's loud, it's wobbly, their tail gets stuck in it. They're constantly jumping on it, which causes it to shove into the wall. So all my freshly painted walls have black marks all over them from where they're running on the wheel, and it's scraping against the wall or scraping against the window seal. And I'm like, you know, okay, I'd like a nicer wheel, but it'll be here sometime, I think this week or next week. And I tell you what, in my new location, I'm going to pop that baby right in that front floor to ceiling.
Yeah, you are.
And because it's street walking over there too. It's not just cars. And I'm going to have my cat there at the store running on that wheel. I mean, it is going to be like,
I love it.
I mean, how often do you walk by a store and you're like, there's a cat running in a wheel? What the hell?
I know. Oh, it would get me. I'd totally walk from across the street. Exactly. There's a cat. I'm going for it.
Like, there's a cat in the yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that's anyway, so I do want to, I said, it's not that I want an empire, but I would like to have a store in Brooklyn too. So yeah, I think it's a fantastic goal to have, and I hope you get that store in Brooklyn so I can come visit. I love going to New York, so miss it, and the pizza and everything about it.
Well, any last comments or anything you want to share with our listeners?
Oh, one thing I did want to mention to you, which when you were talking about it can be used for humans or animals. Everything Adored Beast makes too, people can take, which is sort of interesting. Like, I'll be talking to my rep and she's like, oh yeah, like they have the jump for joints. She goes, my husband's got real bad arthritis. He used to jump for joints. And I mean, the lady who formulates, Julianne, she consumes, I mean, it has to be labeled for cats and dogs, but she consumes the exact same product. So you might appreciate that you know.
I do. I'm totally going to look up this brand because before you started advertising it, I had not heard about it at all. So
I
I'm
really,
totally interested.
yeah, I swear by them. But anything else left to add? I mean, not really. I mean, I'm just looking forward to, if anybody is in the area, I would love them to come and support the store because we are really excited about possibly moving to a really awesome location and turning a lot more people into crazy cat people like us.
I love it. Absolutely. And once you get moved into your new spot, we'll do this again so we can take a look at it and see how that cat wheel is going, right?
Oh, it's gonna go because they run on it. A kitten at my house a couple weeks ago, he was literally purposely flinging himself off of it. So he would run on it so hard that he would fly off of it and then get back on it and
Do it again. They're
I'm
so funny. What they like is so ridiculous sometimes.
And I'm like, he's like landing on his butt. And I'm like, didn't that hurt? And he's, nope, get on it and do it again. But I mean, if everything works out to plan, it should coincide with, the time we win America's Favorite Cat and she has her big magazine spread. And then hopefully we'll be doing our grand opening there on the Heights. And I mean, I just got to stick the path, and same with you.
Right.
Like, this is the year. Don't do like you did last year. This is the year. Don't wait till the end of the year. If you, keep pushing, you're going to find what you're looking for.
Yeah, it's definitely moving along. I'm real excited about our journey. I'm hoping, like, my goal is by October to have something, a brick and mortar. So we'll see how it goes.
Good luck.
And everybody get online, America's Favorite Pet, vote for Chompawat.
Yes. I will actually, matter of fact, here we go. Ready? Let's make it easy.
Yes, there you go.
That'll take you right to
Scan that code, guys. Scan that code. Awesome.
I'm prepared. Well,
thank you so much, Angie. Yeah. This has been fun. We'll have to definitely keep in touch and talk more cat business soon.
And if you want to talk to other cat store owners, I am in touch with several now. Being
that I'd love to.
One of the few, yeah. I can do an introduction on Instagram, and I mean, in this industry, the more we support each other, I think the more we can uplift each other. So if you want that,
absolutely. And educating pet owners, because there's just not enough of that, especially in the cat space. It's really surprising to me what people don't know about cats and their personalities and, how their biology works. Like, I guess because I've just grown up with cats so much, I
mean,
take it for granted.
Yeah, I always tell people when they come in, I say, look, if I say something, it's not because I think I know better. But when I had my first cat 23 years ago, if somebody had told me, Angie, get a water fountain, I would have been like, why? What? Why? Let me go buy it. Why do I need it? I'm buying it right now. Like if somebody had told me, maybe she wouldn't have died of kidney disease at 15, like I didn't know that graze feeding cats dry kibble isn't the best idea for them. I mean, I'm like, I'm only telling you because I wish somebody had told me. But if it's ever too much, just say, okay, Angie, shut up. But yeah, we do take it for granted. But anyway. Yeah, and when are you back in Houston? Just come by. I don't know when.
Yeah, well, like I said, my family lives in the Galveston area, so for sure the next time we come through, I'm going to be swinging by the Kitty Bodega so I can say hi. I can't plan more than like 3 days ahead these days. I'm sure you know how that goes. I was like, what do I have going on tomorrow? I think I'm recording a podcast tomorrow, and then I have an event on Saturday. It's my son's birthday on Sunday. If I can get through that, then I'll worry about next week.
Okay, there you go. I mean, and you're talking to the girl who forgot our original time.
Hey, it happens. It happens. So I really appreciate you making the time today. This has been fantastic.
Of course.
Always love talking kitty. So cool. Well, thank you. Cheers.